Criminals often do evil things and get away with it, but sometimes their victims are able to get their revenge from beyond the grave. Welcome back, Charlie here. Today we'll look at some criminals who were haunted by their victims. From a gang that collapsed after one of their members was haunted by a victim of their crimes, to an infamous criminal who was only caught because of a little girl's spirit. The first criminal we'll look at is named Ah Fong. Surprisingly, she was an innocent-seeming teenage girl. She was recruited by the secretive Triad gang in Hong Kong. Her job was to lure victims into their trap. And in 1999, one of their victims was named Fan Man Yi. Fan Man Yi was captured one night by this gang in Hong Kong. The gang said that she owed them $20,000. The gang spent an entire month interrogating Fan Man Yi, but sadly after 1 month, Fan's injuries meant that she passed away. The rest of the very evil gang simply moved on, except Ah Fong. Ah Fong, who had helped in the crime, began getting terrible nightmares. She kept seeing the ghost of Fan Man Yi. She was unable to sleep for days, and was absolutely traumatized by what had happened. Eventually, Ah Fong could not cope and she called the police. At first, the police did not believe her. They thought she was delusional or crazy. But then Ah Fong took the police to the crime scene, and there they discovered the remains of Fan Man Yi. She had been hidden inside a Hello Kitty mermaid doll. The 3 gang members involved were arrested and were sentenced to life in prison, and Ah Fong testified in exchange for immunity. Ah Fong's story is chilling, but an even scarier criminal is Jose Ferreira. This man is the epitome of evil. In 1982, when he was 17, he went to a party. That's when he met a 13-year-old named Carrie Ann Peck. Jose gave her substances and tried to get her to go to the basement with him, but that's when Carrie said she didn't want to. Jose responded by saying, "You're going downstairs," and he then pushed Carrie down the stairs into the basement, but the fall broke Carrie's neck. Jose then did terrible things to Carrie. Jose then snuck her body out of the house and buried it under the neighbor's porch. After 17 months, Carrie was discovered, but police were baffled and there were no leads or witnesses. But during these 17 years, Jose was being tormented every night, according to him, by Carrie's spirit. He would have sleepless nights where he would just hear Carrie screaming. Eventually, Jose said he was driven insane. So after nearly 2 decades, he finally went to the police and confessed. Do you think this was Carrie's spirit calling out, trying to get revenge? Even though it took many years, justice was served, and Carrie's parents got to see her killer put behind bars. Now let's look at this criminal named Bim Shankar Jiri. Bim was a happily married man from Mumbai, India. But he had a problem: his own brother. Bim's brother would not stop harassing his wife. Bim told his brother to stop countless times, but his brother would not stop. Bim's hatred of his brother grew more and more, until one day he reached a tipping point. He then decided to take his brother's life. The police and Bim's family had no idea what happened, but scarily, 1 week later, Bim began hearing his brother's voice. Bim's brother said he was going to haunt him and give him sleepless nights for the rest of his life. Every night, Bim would have nightmares of his brother choking him. Eventually, it all became too much, and Bim confessed to his family. Bim's family called the police, and Bim was sentenced to life in prison. Even though Bim's brother was in the wrong, it does not excuse what Bim did. But Bim is nowhere near as evil as this man. This man is named Terry Childs. In 1985, this man took the life of 17-year-old Janine Segala. Terry was convicted and sentenced to 41 years in prison. But while he was in prison, he began confessing to more things he'd done. This included many lives he'd taken. In total, he confessed to taking 12 people's lives. But he was only ever convicted of 5 of these murders. In court, he made a very scary admission. He said he confessed because he was being haunted by his victims. He said his confession was a last-ditch effort to free himself from these ghosts. He said he would often see his victims in his cell staring at him, and had dreams of them eating his brain. After he confessed to the crimes, the ghosts disappeared. Maybe people who have their lives ended prematurely come back and get revenge from the afterlife. Something similar happened with criminal Mark Bridger. Mark Bridger was a very evil man from the UK. In 2012, Mark was driving around his local area. That's when he saw a young girl, 5-year-old April Jones. April Jones approached Mark's car, but that was the last time she was seen alive. At first, Mark said this was an accident, but police did not believe this for 1 second. And a later investigation found that Mark did this on purpose. Mark was sentenced to life in prison, but a few years later, one of Mark's fellow inmates was released from prison and disclosed something scary. He said that Mark would see visions of April Jones in his cell. Apparently, April's ghost torments Mark and gives him sleepless nights. Frankly, I don't feel sorry for him one bit. Now, let's look at the top 2 stories of criminals haunted by their victims. This is Adrian Dao. In 2010, he took the life of a woman named Jennifer Stewart. He did this in a parking lot in Ottawa, Canada. Because it was at night, there were no witnesses and police were stumped. For 3 years, the crime was unsolved and police had no leads. But one day, out of nowhere, a man named Adrian Dao confessed to police. At first, police did not believe Adrian. But after questioning, there were some things only the killer would know. And Adrian answered all of the questions correctly. But here's where it gets weird. When police asked Adrian why he did it, he said it was to launch his music career. He said, quote, "If I killed someone, I'd be a really good rapper, because people talk about killer stuff." But why did Adrian confess? Well, he said that after the incident, he would often see Jennifer's ghost. He said he saw Jennifer's ghost multiple times per day flying over him, and also standing over his bed at night. Now let's take a look at one more haunted criminal. In 2013, Victor Amawuga from Ghana got into a taxi, but that was when Victor took the taxi driver's life. That wasn't enough, and he took another taxi driver's life. Victor then went on the run, but that's when he began getting haunted by his victims. Ghosts of his victims would appear in his dreams, and according to Victor, began slapping him while he slept. Victor Amawuga could not sleep for days. Eventually, he told a friend about what he did, and Victor's friend quickly called the police. Victor was arrested and soon confessed. He expressed remorse but was sentenced to life in prison. But in prison, Victor warned other inmates to not repeat their crimes. He warned them that if they took people's lives, they may be haunted by the victims' ghosts. Just like what was happening to Victor, even behind bars. But now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Comment down below which was the scariest case of criminals being haunted. If you want to see my short videos, then check out my second channel. But as always, thanks for watching. I've been Charlie. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And if you haven't already, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.